What's going on YouTube? So around Christmas time, we first sampled the all-new Sorento in the fully loaded SX Prestige model. However, today we wanted to come back and take a look at the Sorento again, but this time in the value-oriented S trim level. This is a trim level that can be had in the low 30s and comes packed with a lot of different features and technology. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop into the review and see if the S is the Sorento to buy. So I want to start off this review by talking about the two different design themes that the S can come in, because if you come to your Kia lot looking for an S Sorento, you might be wondering why do they kind of look different from each other, and that's because if you choose all-wheel drive, you get the Sport Appearance group, which is what we have on this example. So compared to the normal S model, that's going to have a real sleek design that looks very much like the SX that we reviewed earlier or late last year. And then on this one here, you have the rugged look. So this is going to come with the tougher lower fascia here, using some matte black plastic as well as a more matte finish on the upper part of the fascia. Now coming over here to your headlights, these are going to be LED headlights. They're standard on every Sorento. You do have an incandescent turn signal indicator, and then you've got the signature daytime running light that runs right through there. Now, like I was already saying, the differences between the front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive S are very significant, and that includes the wheels. So you're going to have 18-inch alloys no matter which one you choose, but they have totally different designs. So you have a contrast design if you choose the front-wheel drive model, and if you choose this all-wheel drive model, this is going to come with a full gloss black finish. Now above that, we have a little accenting up here finished in gray. The S model is going to come with the gloss black mirror caps, and then you do have standard heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now the S is going to have a sporty design, so here at the side you're going to have blacked out window surrounds as well as a black roof rail to give it that sporty look. And if we walk around to the rear design itself, we're going to have that signature Sorento look that, you know, we kind of sampled probably 2 months ago, and I think it has a very rugged yet classy design. Now let's break down the individual design elements. You're probably noticing one area where the S is going to be inferior to the higher end models. That's because these taillights are going to be just incandescent. They're LED if you go for the SX trims or higher. Then if we drop down, we have Sorento spelled out across here. And this lower bumper area, if you go for all-wheel drive, is going to be this more rugged matte plastic as opposed to the different design for the regular front-wheel drive models. Now Kia is going to give you 3 out of 4 of the safety systems standard on all Sorento models. So that's going to be forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, and auto high beam headlamps. However, do note that if you want to get adaptive cruise control, you're going to have to go for at least the EX trim level. Well guys, that's going to sum up the exterior design of this sporty S Sorento. Now let's go ahead and check out the inside and see what luxury they've thrown in at this value price point. But before we do that, hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps us out and I would truly appreciate it.
So on all but the very base Sorento, you do have Kia's Smart Entry system with remote start built right into the key fob. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, just press the black button to unlock the door. Alright, and taking a look inside of this S Sorento, even though this is the second to base trim level, I'm very impressed to see that a lot of the design and materials appear to be very similar to that SX Prestige model we sampled late last year. One of the only significant differences I'm noticing is that instead of the diamond quilted leather you have on the SX Prestige, the S trim level, as well as most of the other trims on this Sorento lineup, come with the leatherette seats. However, I will say this is a very aesthetically pleasing seat. with lots of different designs and stitching details, and your choice of black or gray color options. Now, coming over here to your door trim, it is very nicely finished. We have a leather material across the armrest with a double color contrast stitching detail, and it is soft touch in the middle as well as along the top. And then we have a textured faux aluminum. As far as the windows, they're one-touch auto up and down for the driver only. Now coming over here to the seats, these are 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. And then, like I was already saying, this is a very nice leatherette. Feels nice and realistic, and it's very comfortable to sit in this seat. Now, like I was saying earlier, this cabin is very similar to the top-end model, even on this second to base trim level. So across our upper dash, this is going to be finished in a soft touch plastic with a stitching detail. As we drop down below, we have more of this faux aluminum trim than you see on most of the Sorento models. We also have some padded material down here on the lower dash. It is going to be hard touch along the side here. However, we do have kind of those little handlebar look that is popularized by the Telluride, and everything in here does fit together very nicely. Then to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. Now, of course, there will be some differences from the higher end models, and these gauges are one of them. The SX Prestige comes with the full reconfigurable 12.3 inch gauges. However, this comes with the standard version with a 4.2 inch multi-function display and analog gauges. I will say though, these look perfectly fine and have all the expected information you want to find. And then pulling back here to the steering wheel, we have Kia's latest design. It is nicely leather wrapped here with piano black accents, and the wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Let's go ahead and check the interior storage next. So open up our center console here. First of all, you'll be greeted with this little storage tray. You can pull this out and toss that to the side to reveal the entire console here, which is quite deep and does have a nice felt lining in it. Obviously, our big stack of coupons, they can fit in here absolutely no problem whatsoever. There's a lot of extra cubbies inside this car, which I appreciate. So we have a little slot here, we have a place right here, we have 2 squared off cup holders, and then if we press on this, we open up a really large bin here in the front. This part here is great for sticking your cell phone. Would be a wireless phone charging pad on EX and above, but you still have your standard connections right there. Now, taking a look here at the shifter, unlike the Hyundai counterpart Santa Fe, you do have a traditional shifter instead of the push button style. Obviously, pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting. The S does not have paddle shifters. And then heading up here to reverse, we do have a backup camera, nice resolution. It's got active trajectory, and surprisingly, we do have rear parking sensors even on this S trim level. We do not have an electronic parking brake though. We've got the foot brake style instead, so something to keep in mind. Now back behind the shifter, this is where you'll find your drive mode controllers and also a few more buttons like turning on and off your auto start stop and your parking sensors. Now if you haven't noticed by now, the S in a lot of ways is really the value sweet spot of the lineup. And that includes by having the standard dual zone automatic climate control setup and standard heated seats. This is the first trim level in the lineup to get those. And as you can see, 3-stage heated seats, seat ventilation is reserved for the fully loaded model. And then coming up here to the climate controls, like I was saying, dual zone automatic. You just adjust with these nice toggles. It is touch sensitive on these buttons right here in the center, and then you have some physical buttons off to the side there. And of course, it's got that signature Sorento dual vent look, which I think is really cool and also pretty practical. All right, now coming up here to our audio system. Most of the trim levels are going to come with the 6-speaker sound system. That includes this S model, so we'll go ahead and give it a sample. Well, for some reason we're having a little bit of a connection issue there, but as you could probably hear, the sound system is pretty good. Obviously it's not going to knock your socks off or anything, but if you're a big, audio person, you'll probably want to go up to the SX Prestige so that you can get that 12-speaker Bose Premium sound system. Okay, so now let's take a look here at our display. So this is one of your differences between your lower trims and your higher trim levels, is that you have an 8-inch display instead of the 10.25-inch display. Now I want to start here in Android Auto because this is a very important difference. We have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay here with this 8-inch display. This is actually not available on the larger 10.25-inch display. So if you get the fully loaded models, you won't have that. You'll actually have that on the lower end models like this S. So that's definitely a very nice thing to see at this price point, something most competitors are not including. Inside of the main Kia system, this is very much the UVO system we're used to seeing. So it has a very simple layout that's easy to understand. And you don't have built-in navigation or anything like that, considering that this is a lower end model. Moving above that, we have a manual dimming mirror. And then everything you've seen so far in this interior has been standard equipment here on the S model. However, up at the top, there's going to be two things that are optional on this. We have the panoramic sunroof, which I'll go ahead and slide this sunshade back. This is a $1,300 option, as you can see, very impressively large. And in addition to that, the LED lighting is packaged with that panoramic sunroof.
Alrighty, so getting in the second row of the Sorento S, the first thing I'm going to notice is just how much space you have back here. This is one of the largest offerings you can get in the entire segment. You have 42 inches of rear legroom, 39 inches of rear headroom. That does best the vast majority of the rivals, and there's just so much space back here. Now behind your seating position, I have, I would say, probably 10 to 11 inches of rear legroom. My feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, and it is worth noting that you can slide these seats forward and back as well as recline them. And you're probably also noticing that we have the bench seating in the rear. That is going to be standard on the lower trim levels, and if you go for the EX or higher, that's going to go to captain's chairs. Now, as far as the features are concerned, we're still going to have vents, even though this is a lower end model. And then dropping below that, we have a 12-volt power outlet, as well as a charging USB down here. And you also have two additional charging USBs in the back of each seat back. Another really nice touch. And over here on the door trim, you have a bottle holder. Now, one of the coolest things about the Sorento is that even though it's in this mid-size segment, it does have a third row standard equipment. So that's very, very rare for this class. So let's go ahead and get back there and see what it's like. So in order to do that, you just locate this button right here, push it, and that does electrically fold the seat and shoot it forward. Super easy to get back here. Now, as far as the space itself is concerned though, this is not going to be like the biggest third row. Of course, this is not like a really big vehicle in size, but as far as the space itself, it's not too bad. You have 30 inches of rear legroom, so to put that in reference, that's about the same as something like a Toyota Highlander. And with the seat slid all the way back, I still have about a ½ inch of legroom, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. Now, as far as the features are concerned, we do have some storage here on the left side. We also have a charging USB port on each side, but we are not going to have vents. Now, walking up to the tailgate, unfortunately on the S model, you're not going to have a power one. I don't really expect that, but of course you can get a hands-free power one if you go for the higher end models. But on this one, you just push the button to open it up. And as far as the space itself is concerned, you're going to have 16 cubic feet of space behind the third row seats. That expands to 45 cubic feet behind the second row. And as a maximum, you have 75 cubic feet of space. Now, that is actually right in par with the vast majority of the rivals, if not bigger than some of the other ones, despite having that third row taking up some of the space back here. Now, as far as how they finished it, if we lift up the carpeted floor, we do have storage here on the left side. You can fit quite a bit of stuff up under there. And as you would expect, you are just going to have a manual folding third row. So you just pull that little strap and it folds right down. And you do also have buttons to power fold the second row. Now the passenger seat is going to be manually adjusting on the S Sorento. And then if we open up the glove box, this is a pretty good amount of space. I know you guys who buy Kia and Hyundai products are very value minded, so of course you're going to need the coupons. And you know, here in the glove box, fits them in there just fine. It's about what I would expect. And then if we look up top, we have a very large mirror as well as a light, and we can also detach and extend.
Alright, so that was taken off here in this Kia Sorento. This, of course, being the S model, is going to come with the base engine. So there's two different engines with the Sorento lineup. We sampled the 2.5 turbo engine. This is the 2.5 naturally aspirated engine. So you're going to have 191 horsepower, 181 pound-feet of torque. Those are fine numbers. Obviously, it's going to be less powerful than if you get the turbo models, but you know, this is really adequate.
Yeah, I'd say that probably the main difference you're going to notice would be in the torque figure, where you have that, you know, 300 plus pound-feet of torque. With the turbo, you do have that pushback in your seat sensation. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a little bit weaker, but honestly, I think this is perfectly fine for the average consumer. So if you're looking for a more basic in Sorento, this is not like as weak as a kitten or anything. This is just fine. This is not super powerful, but it is a-okay.
So let's talk about the transmission. That's another difference between your two powertrain options. So this has a traditional 8-speed automatic transmission. If you have the turbo model, it comes with an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Comparing the two, this is very nice and smooth transmission. Obviously the shifts are going to be a little less crisp than in the dual clutch, but that's, of course, you know, goes with the theme. That's a much more powerful, much more sporty model, and this here really blends seamlessly into the background, but when you put your foot down, it does shift to give you more power instantaneously.
And why don't we just go ahead and talk about that? You know, this Sorento, just cruising down, we're going around 55 miles an hour now. I mean, supremely comfortable. We said this in, you know, our past Sorento reviews. This does an exceptional job of just soaking up the bumps, being very comfortable. It's going to be one of the most comfortable things that you can buy for all three rows of your family. And I will go ahead and get a sound level reading so we can kind of compare to some of the rivals. So going 55 miles an hour, we're looking at 57.1 decibels. It's a very, very good figure. Very class competitive as well. And let's go ahead and talk about the airball and slam dunk. I'll start today off by talking about the slam dunk, which is just going to be the overall value. You probably guessed it, but I want to specifically emphasize value even within the Sorento lineup. This is a very value-oriented vehicle to start with, but this S is even more value on top of that. We'll talk about this in just a second, but this one's sticker is just a touch over 36 grand, and look at all you're getting. We have heated seats, we have a pano roof, we have really cool exterior design. I mean, there's not a lot to complain about here, and you even have the 3 rows as well.
And then as far as the airball, we kind of struggled to come up with something, but one of the things that we would like to see is LED taillights and full LED lighting in the front. You know, it's just kind of a touch that a lot of rivals include standard across the board.
Now, as far as the fuel economy is concerned, this one, as equipped, is going to come in at 24 miles a gallon combined. I do want to mention here though that if you're looking for a higher end model with a turbo engine, that you're not going to pay any more at the pump for that. You're actually just going to get the power with the same fuel economy. So that's, I guess, unfortunate for this base model, but a good thing if you want to go for the turbo. But now let's go ahead and get into that, pricing, which is such a strong suit for this Sorento S. Now, it's going to start at $31,890, which is just one step above the LX that has that base price of under $30,000, and that is with front drive. We do have the optional panoramic moonroof as well as the destination charge of $1175. That brings this one to $36,375.
But to conclude here, what a value this thing is. I don't want to reiterate too much, but as you've seen throughout this review, you get a lot of the same stuff from the higher end models right here on this affordable S trim level. And that's in addition to all of the just generally really strong attributes of this all new Sorento. So color us impressed.
Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth review of the all-new 2021 Kia Sorento S. We really appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far, I know that means you probably enjoyed, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's completely free to you. All it's going to do is give you notifications on our most recent content, and why wouldn't you want to be notified when we make new videos? So go ahead and do that. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.